I'm Julie Bethune. I'm from Bridgerverne in Perthshire in Scotland. I was late starter to running. I spent the first 38 years of my life believing I couldn't run a mile. Um, and it wasn't until 2016, Ian, my husband, had started running. And I decided that I needed to do something with 4 young children in the house to get fit. So I started kind of just trying to run 5Ks really, and ran my first 5K race then. And then when I turned 40, I decided I wanted a big challenge. So I decided I wanted to run a marathon and see if I could. So Ian was going to run with me, and we ran the Edinburgh Marathon. I probably didn't train as much as I should, and went out far too fast in the excitement of the moment and the big crowds, and made the last kind of 10 miles really hard for myself. But I finished in just under 5 hours, so I was really, really pleased with that, and then didn't run for a year afterwards. So in 2020, we moved, and kind of lockdown and everything, and I got back into the habit of running most, like 2 or 3 times a week really, just starting again from 5Ks and building up. And I decided that I wanted to see, Ian, my husband, was running ultra distances, and I wanted to see if I could. So December that year, I signed up to a virtual challenge that you had the whole of December to complete. But I decided I was going to run the whole thing on my birthday. And so Ian and I went out and ran 35 miles together, and that was my first ultra distance. And since then, I've just loved ultra running. It doesn't have the same pressures of pace as shorter distances. I'm not a fast runner, but I just enjoy being out and really pushing and seeing what the body can do. And I've kind of gradually since then increased the distances that I've run. I've tried all sorts of different races, from hill races, trail races, canal races, looped courses, point-to-point ones, and I just love trying different things and seeing what my body can do. So I ran my first backyard in 2022, which was God's Own Backyard in Leeds in the November. Ian and I always try and run one race together a year, and that's what we picked for that year. He'd done a backyard earlier in the year, the Cowshed, in April. So this was us kind of having our weekend away together, running a backyard. And my training had gone fine beforehand, but I didn't get very much sleep the week before. I was helping my parents move house, and I had a lot of traveling and overnight coaches and things. So the last week's prep, when you really want kind of maximum sleep and kind of rest, it didn't really happen. So I went into it feeling tired. And I think I just underestimated the mental challenge of keeping going lap after lap. So I'd set myself the goal of matching what Ian had run in April, which was 27 laps. And I hit that point, and there were still runners that looked really strong in the corral. And I just quit at that point, and that was me. So I did 27 laps. At the time, I'd convinced myself that I was perfectly happy with that. And then after about 3 hours sleep, when I got up to crew Ian, who had continued running, I really regretted the choice I'd made. So last year I signed up to Orkney Backyard Ultra, and went into it kind of a lot wiser, I guess, and a lot more prepared for what you need to do. And my training had gone well that year, and I'd had some good races, and I was feeling confident. And I think that makes a big difference, going in believing in yourself, whatever your goal is. I think you just really need that, and you need goals. You need different kind of points to aim for, but you always need the next one to keep you going. And I ran 31 yards in Orkney and won the race outright. So I was absolutely made up. But more than just winning the race, it was that I'd actually enjoyed the whole thing. I'd smiled on every yard, and I genuinely, I mean, I'd had the odd low point, but no, I just enjoyed the whole thing from start to finish. And there's not many races, ultra races of that, like long distances, that you don't have some real points you have to dig deep. or real negative kind of mental battles. And I never hit that point at Orkney, and that was really exciting. Ian and I then ran BYU again in November together, and we'd gone with the plan that we wanted to be the last 2 runners running, but that we weren't going to compete with each other this time, that we were going to stop together. And again, we did 31 yards. We were the last 2 runners, and we stopped at that point. So I'm running Rasselbock with the aim of seeing how far I can go and really testing myself. It'll either be a timeout or a win. And then Ian and I are running Cowshed in April, both running, and that will be a see who can go the furthest. I think with the backyards, I like to have like break it down and have like mini goals, if you like, but with the long-term goal in the background. So you've always got that driving in the background that you want to get to. I mean, for me, it's to either time out on a lap or to win the race. So that's always in the background, regardless of what mini goal I'm working towards, be it, I mean, the first one to tick off the list is 24 hours. And then from there, it would be 31 yards for me because I've done that before. I'd like to go one further. And then it's seeing if you can get to 36, which would be a new UK women's record. And then it would be carrying on from there and just really seeing. So no, for me, having those different stages to work towards helps me stay focused on each lap. I like the extra mental challenge of making yourself start each new yard. And I love the fact that everybody starts every yard together. So I like the atmosphere. I love seeing other runners kind of challenging themselves, setting goals, surprising themselves with new distance PBs and that. It's just that whole atmosphere. The volunteers are always amazing, and it just, yeah, it gives you a boost. I guess a lot of the long distances I've done that are kind of point-to-point races, I spend a lot of hours on my own, running on my own. You only see people at checkpoints, and that's what I like about backyard. Everyone can run a backyard because you set your own challenges and your own goals, and you get that real camaraderie in the corral at the start of each lap, and that's great. Training's going really well. I mean, it's always more of a challenge to get out in the winter, to kind of when it's dark and you've been at work and you've still got to go out. I don't have a coach. I don't follow a strict training plan. I make my own training plan. So I do have kind of aims for each week, but they're fairly flexible. So yeah, no, it's all going really well. I'm quite lucky. I tend to stay injury free. We get the odd niggle, but I think the more you run ultras, the more you learn kind of how your body works, so you can run through a lot of niggles without having to stop training. Yeah, no, it's all good. I'm just looking forward to yeah, running with other people really and getting in the chat. I mean, there's lots of runners that I know from online. There's not many people that I've ran races with before that are at Rasselbock, so that'll be good to meet new people. I tend to keep to myself during races a lot because I've found that I run better if I focus on my own pace, rather than if you get chatting with someone too long, you find you're whizzing around kind of 5 minutes faster than you intended. So I guess I'm always aware of that when I'm racing. But yeah, no, it'll be good fun to meet everybody and see how it goes. Oh, a duck-sized horse, I think. I like horses. I've ridden a lot in the past. I volunteer at the RDA, riding for the disabled when I can. So I like being around horses. So I think I'd have a duck-sized horse.